Hey guys, and welcome back to another A-Level Maths revision video. And in this video today, we're going to take a look at simultaneous equations. So this is one of the earliest topics that you'll cover. And to be honest, it's not too bad. It's just a follow-on from what you've done at GCSE Maths. So if you've not done it for a while, then you might find this a little bit tricky to start with. But if you've just come off the back of GCSE Maths, you should hopefully find this quite straightforward. So let's just jump into the questions today. 3 questions, all from the old C1 papers. So the first question here is from C1 June 2016. So question 5. So we want to solve this simultaneous equation here. So we've got 2 equations. The first equation is y plus 4x plus 1 equals 0, and the second equation is y squared plus 5x squared plus 2x. Okay, and this is equal to 0. So with simultaneous equations of this type, what we need to do here is rearrange one of the equations so that we can substitute it into the other equation. And clearly here, if we take a look at both these equations, what we want to do is we want to rearrange the simpler equations. So if we take a look at both these equations, this equation here is just a straight line, and this equation here would give me a circle. Okay. So what I'm going to do then in that case is rearrange this equation here, simply because that's just a straight line. There's no squared terms involved, so in that case it's much easier to rearrange this and then substitute it into this equation. So if we rearrange this, it doesn't actually matter whether you rearrange it to be y equals or x equals, but here, in my opinion, it makes sense to rearrange this to be y equals, because if we just substitute in, all we need to do is substitute into y squared. If we rearrange this to be x equals, then I've got to substitute into this 5x squared here and this 2x. So there's more work involved, but it doesn't matter. You will get the correct answer as long as you do everything correct in between. So if I rearrange this to be y equals, then I get minus 4x minus 4x minus 1. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is substitute this y equals into this y squared. Okay. So we're going to substitute that into y squared. So if we do that, what we get here is minus 4x minus 1 all squared plus 5x squared plus 2x equals 0. Okay, and here now all I need to do is expand these double brackets and start collecting the like terms. So this minus 4x minus 1, if it helps, put the 2 brackets. I still do this to this day just so I can see what I'm working with. So minus 4x times minus 4x gives me 16x squared. So what I'll do is I'll actually write over here. So I get 16x squared. I'm going to get minus 4x times minus 1, so that'll be plus 4x, positive 4x. And same again here, minus 1 times minus 4x gives me another 4x. And then finally, minus 1 times minus 1 will give me plus 1. So I get plus 1 there. We've got plus 5x squared here. And then we've got our plus 2x. And this is all equal to 0. Okay. So here now, on this line of working, what I need to do is collect like terms. And what we're going to end up with here is a quadratic in terms of x. And from there, we're going to factorise and get 2 solutions for x, and then we need to find our y solutions. So what you should end up with at the very end is 2 x solutions and 2 y solutions. So collecting like terms here, I've got a 16x squared and a 5x squared. So that gives me 21x squared. We've got 4x plus 4x plus 2x, so that gives me plus 10x. And then finally here, we've got this plus 1. We have nothing else we can add to that 1, so we just get plus 1. And this is all equal to 0. And here now, what we need to do is factorise this quadratic. And you can use your graphical calculator if it has the ability to factorise something of this type. Or you can just do it by hand, whichever you find easier. So by factorising this, I'm going to have to split this up into 7x and 3x at the front of this one. And then my final terms in each bracket here, so that's going to be a plus 1 in here, and that'll be a plus 1 in here. So let's just double check it. 21x squared, 7x plus 3x, that gives me my 10x, and then finally, yeah, 1 times 1 gives us plus 1. So that's perfect. So from here now, this is equal to 0. Okay? And here, we can obtain both of our x solutions. So our first x solution comes from setting 7x plus 1 equal to 0. So 7x plus 1 equals 0, and then solving for x. So clearly x will be equal to minus 1 over 7. So x is equal to minus 1 over 7. And then same again here, setting 3x plus 1 equal to 0, we get a similar solution, but instead of it being minus 1 over 7, it'll be minus 1 over 3. Okay, so we've got both our x solutions here. We now need the y solutions. So how do we get the y solutions? Well, again, we just need to substitute our x solutions here into what would make sense is this, because this just gives us y. So if we have x, if I substitute it into this now, I can get my y solution. So therefore, y is equal to minus 4 lots. So I need to do each one individually. So I'm going to do minus 1 over 7 first. So minus 4 lots, minus 1 over 7, and then minus 1. Okay. And if I do that, I get minus 4 times minus 1 over 7, so that gives me 4 over 7, positive 4 over 7, minus the 1. And this minus 1 here would be minus 7 over 7. So what I get is minus 3 over 7. Okay. So that's my first y solution. And then for my final y solution, again, we just repeat this, but with minus 1 over 3. So minus 4 times minus 1 over 3, minus the 1. Okay. Minus 4 times minus 1 over 3 will give me plus 4 over 3. I get positive 4 over 3. And then I minus the 1 again. And this time, this will be minus 3 over 3. So in that case, I just simply get positive 1 over 3. Okay. And if we want to display our solutions then, if we just do that up here, when x is equal to minus 1 over 7, I get that y is equal to minus 3 over 7. And then finally, when x is equal to minus 1 over 3, or minus a third, I get that y is equal to 1 over 3. Okay, so positive 1 over 3 there. And that gets us our 6 marks there. Okay, these are our solutions here. Okay, so that's the first question done there. Let's move on to the next one. So again, looks very similar. Like you see, these questions always follow a very similar pattern. So here, again, we're just looking to solve the simultaneous equations. I've got two equations. My first one being y minus 2x minus 4 equals 0. And my second one being 4x squared plus y squared plus 20x equals 0. Okay. So again, what I need to do is rearrange one of these equations and then substitute it into the other equation. And again, we just look for the simpler of the two equations. And usually, I don't want to say always, but it is normally the equation on top. But this cannot always be the case. You know, you might see it underneath as a second equation. But it's just usually the equation that doesn't have square terms involved. And again, I can rearrange this to be y equals or x equals. But again, just like the previous one, it makes sense to rearrange this to be y equals because I've just got a y squared here. If I make that x equals, I'm going to substitute into here, 4x squared, and into this 20x here. So in this case, I'm going to make it y equals. So if I make this y equals, I'm going to add 2x to both sides, and I'm going to add 4 to both sides to balance these equations. So I get 2x plus 4. Okay, so that's my rearranged version of y there. So now I'm going to substitute this y here into this y squared. So I get 4x squared plus y squared, so that's going to be plus 2x plus 4 all squared, and then plus 20x. And this is all equal to 0. And again, I just need to expand these double brackets and then collect like terms. What we'll end up with again is a quadratic in terms of x, and we're going to solve that to get both our x solutions, and again, we just need to find our y solutions. So here in this case, expanding these double brackets, it's 2x plus 4 times 2x plus 4. Expanding this, 2x times 2x gives me 4x squared. 2x times 4 gives me plus 8x. 4 times 2x gives me another 8x. And then finally 4 times 4 gives me plus 16. So if we write that over here, I get 4x squared. That's my first part here. Plus another 4x squared. Plus 8x plus another 8x. That would be 16x. We've got a plus 16 at the end here. And don't forget our plus 20x. And this is all equal to 0. Okay. So here, just like we did with the previous one, we're going to collect like terms. I've got 4x squared and another 4x squared. So that would give us 8x squared. We've got 16x plus a 20x. That would give me 36x. And then finally we've got plus 16 here. And this is all equal to 0. And there's two ways of going about this now. We can either factorise what we've got here, or we can simplify it. Neither method is wrong. It's completely up to you, whichever you find easier. Me personally, I'm going to simplify here, just to make life a little bit easier. I always like to try and make maths easier if possible. So I can divide each term here by 4. So if I divide this by 4, I get 2x squared. If I divide 36x by 4, I get plus 9x. And then finally, if I divide 16 by 4, I get plus 4. Okay, and again, this is all just equal to 0. And again here, all we need to do now is factorise this and get both of my x solutions. So if I factorise this, well, with this being 2x squared, now then clearly we need a 2x at the front of one of the brackets, and then x at the front of the other. Okay, so now determining what goes at the end of each bracket here. That would be a plus 1 there and a plus 4 there, hopefully. 2x squared. Ax plus the 1x gives me 9x, good, and then 1 times 4 gives us plus 4. So we know that's correct. Okay, so this is equal to 0. So here now, we're going to get 2x solutions again, just like we did with the other one, by setting each of these terms equal to 0. So if 2x plus 1 equals 0, then clearly x is equal to minus 1 over 2. Okay, so my first solution is x equals minus a half, and my other x solution will be minus 4. Okay, so that's both our x solutions, but again, we need our y solution. So how do we get our y solution again? Well, all we do now is we substitute this back into one of our original equations, and it makes sense to substitute these values into what we've got here, because this just gives us y. Okay, y is equal to 2x plus 4, so if we know x, we can easily obtain y. So substituting this back in then, y is equal to 2 lots of minus a half, and then plus 4. Okay, so 2 lots of minus a half, well, that would give me minus 1, and then plus 4 will give me 3 there. Okay, and then we repeat this again with minus 4, so therefore y is equal to 2 lots of minus 4, and then plus 4. So 2 times minus 4 will give me minus 8, plus the 4, that just gives us minus 4 there. Okay, so if we present our solutions here, what I get is x equals minus a half. With minus a half, we get y equals 3. And when x equals minus 4, we get y equals minus 4 as well. Okay, so them are our solutions here. So this is what you should get here for your final solution. So that's your 7 marks there for question 2. And let's move on to the final one here then. This is from June 2007, and it looks a little bit different, and they may be presented in this way, but like you can see, or like you will see in a moment, the method they're working is pretty much the exact same. So here, question 6, it says by eliminating y from the equations. So here, all they mean by this is to use what they've given you, y equals x minus 4, and to substitute it into the second equation. So they've already done part of the work for us, like we were doing before. They've already done that for us. So let's do this up here for question 6a. So I'm going to substitute this y equals x minus 4 into my second equation. So that gives me 2x squared minus x, and then where the y is, we replace it with x minus 4, because y equals x minus 4. Okay, so this is a bit of a bad bracket. X minus 4, and this is equal to 8. Now, we should get x squared plus 4x minus 8 equals 0. So how do we get that? Well, first let's expand this bracket here. So I get 2x squared minus x times x, that's minus x squared. And then minus x times minus 4 would give me plus 4x. Okay, so that becomes positive. And on this side, we've got this plus 8 here. Now, what we need to show that is equal to 0. So what I'm going to do here is minus 8 off both sides. So I get minus 8 equals 0. And like you can see here, we're pretty close to what they've got. They've got x squared plus 4x minus 8 equals 0. We've got 2x squared minus x squared plus 4x minus 8 equals 0. So all we need to do then is click the like terms here. So what I get is x squared plus 4x minus 8 equals 0. Okay, and that was exactly as we required. Okay, so that's part A done there. That gets us 2 marks. For part B then, again, I think this one looks a little bit more complicated because the required form of the answer is a plus or minus b root 3, where a and b are integers. This is a little bit different to what we've seen so far, but like you'll see again, when we go to solve this, it's not too bad. So part B says hence or otherwise. So hence is a big clue. We're going to use part A to solve part B. So here, what we've got now is x squared plus 4x minus 8 equals 0. So what we need to do basically is just solve this. And it's up to you which way you solve this quadratic. So we're looking to solve x squared minus 4x minus 8. And the reason we're looking to solve this is because if you notice in part B, the two simultaneous equations are the exact same as part A. Okay? So I need to solve this now. So it's up to you. You can try and factorise this, but what you'll find with this quadratic is it doesn't actually factorise. So we need to use another method now. So we're either going to use the quadratic formula or by completing the square. Now at A-level, I think it's easier to use completing the square, but if you prefer to use quadratic formula, that's absolutely fine, and you will get the correct solution as well. I just think it's a little bit longer, but that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to complete the square here. So in that case, we're going to get x. We halve this middle term here, our b term, that's x minus 2. We square this bracket, and we squared this minus 2 here, which would give us 4. We take the minus of that, so that's minus 4. And then don't forget our c term here, minus 8. And this is all equal to 0. So minus 4 minus 8 would give us minus 12. And I'm going to take that to the other side, because remember, we want to find x here, so we need to solve this equation. So x minus 2 all squared is equal to 12. And here we want x, so what I'm going to do now is square root both sides of this equation. Okay, we've got this squared term here. To get rid of that, we need to square root it. So therefore, we take that up here. I'm going to get x minus 2 is equal, and be very, very careful here. This is going to be the square root of 12, but don't forget the plus or minus. The final solution should be a bit of a hint to that, where it says give your answer in the form a plus or minus b root 3. That should kind of remind you, just in case you do forget. And then finally, we just want x here. So in that case, all I need to do is add 2 to both sides. So x is equal to 2 plus or minus root 12. Now you might be looking at this and thinking, well, this doesn't, this isn't the required form. It was supposed to be a plus or minus b root 3. But what we've got here essentially is just a plus or minus, well, we've got this term here, this root 12. So what I need to do is I need to simplify this root 12. And remember, root 12, we can express that as root 4 times root 3. Okay, this root 4 simplifies to just give us 2. We get 2 root 3. So in that case, we can replace this then with x equals 2 plus or minus 2 root 3 there. Okay, if you forgot to take the plus or minus before, then clearly this would have just been 2 plus 2 root 3. So clearly, just got to be slightly careful with that. But again, like I said, the final solution there, how they're asking for it, should remind you. But that's our solution there. So x equals 2 plus or minus 2 root 3. Okay, and that gets our final 5 marks. So that's our final question here for this video, and brings us to the end. Hopefully, this has helped. If you have noticed any errors or anything that doesn't make total sense, like always, just leave a comment down below. Cheers.